Yeah, now it's time for the conference. I'm super excited. We have over 15 different speakers. You are one of them.
Uh-huh.
Um, so thank you so much for being willing and able to participate in our Plural Positivity World Conference. Maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Well, my name's Jean Reisman, and I'm old as dirt, as they say here in the States. I'm 81, and I've been around for a long time. I got my memories in my low 50s, so I've had a lot of time to deal with what's inside me. And that gave me time to work in the ritual abuse community. I
Mm,
don't, yeah, I think, ritual abuse is a small segment of people within the DID community.
right.
Most of us are plural, as you probably know, but
Yeah.
we're sort of like a subspecialist, you know, and those are my and those are the people I've been working with all these 30 years, and it's very very rewarding. It gives my life a purpose. It takes the horrible things they did to me and twists them and makes allows me to use them for good instead of bad. Ha ha ha.
Exactly. Yes.
Really, like
Right. I love to find
those
those loopholes.
those poor people, they're turning over in their grave. They know what I've been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
So my name is Sarah Clark. I work for Power to the Plurals, and I'm the spokesplural here at Plural Events. How have you been?
I've been good.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've been very busy yesterday with the ID Awareness Day. Uh,
Oh,
I don't know. We tweeted a whole lot, um, and we reached I think 120,000 people. Um,
oh, oh, that's wonderful.
yes, yes. So it was a great success yesterday. Yeah, it gets bigger every year. Nice. Okay, so you run a website called ra-info.org.
That's right. That was the first website that dealt with ritual abuse on the internet, and I
Wow.
don't know whether the first one that dealt with DID at all, because I wasn't looking in those places. But
Right.
I started working on it. This is a funny story. I looked up Satanism. I Googled, and they didn't have Google then. I had what was it? I forget. Ask Jeeves. Anyway, came up with only 10 citations for the whole internet, and
Wow.
one of them was misfiled because it was a treasurer's report for a fraternity.
Okay.
So I was there at the beginning, and what I envisioned RA Info to be would be a virtual library. And basically, that's what it is. It's got a lot of bibliographies, most of them annotated. I've added websites. I've got a huge list of blogs, um, probably about 50, 60 of them by now. And, just some articles, um, some miscellaneous things, hotline training. I've got facts, which go, what is ritual abuse? What is dissociation? What is government mind control? So
Right.
just trying basic informational things for people.
Yeah. What year did you start your website in?
1993.
1993. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah.
great. Thank you
So
so much. Um, yeah.
it's it's sort of been neglected recently, um,
Mm,
partially because I've had a personal life, um,
right.
but also partially because I've been blogging. And I blog at ritualabuse.wordpress.com.
Okay.
And I've been blogging since 2012, I think it was. So that's a while.
That's when I got diagnosed.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't have the guts back then to look into RA. um, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a long time as well to be
It's
vlogging.
it's a long time to keep coming up with something to say.
Right.
Every week, I vlog every 10 days. Thank goodness it isn't every day. But every time I sit down to write something, I say I have nothing to say, and I always find something to say.
Exactly.
So, I just keep
Yeah.
doing it.
I
I'm
have
putting front there.
Yeah, I have over 100 videos on my YouTube now, and I still have 5 pages with ideas for videos to record in the future. So yeah, I have ideas that keep coming in my head as well. But I've not been doing this for nearly as long as you. Yeah, so it's really
Oh,
remarkable what you have done and what you have achieved. Thank you so much.
I have less energy these days than I did
Yeah.
years ago, which is it's really annoying for me because I've got a lot of things.
So maybe we can start with what the difference is between RA and SRA, and if there is a difference.
Oh, okay. Ritual abuse is any sort of really extreme abuse that's done in a ritualistic way. And that generally means on specific days. It means that it's in the name of an ideology. Now that could be in a religion or it could be, for instance, nationalism. Yeah. SRA is a religious form of ritual abuse because S stands for Satanism. And these people who practice it worship Satan. And I don't know whether all of them believe in Satan or not. I mean, some of them may just do it for the sex or for the money or, make business contacts or because their mother would have to pay if they stopped going,
Mm.
other reasons. But I think a lot of them really do believe in this as a religion. And I'm quite sure that my cult did.
Yes.
So that's my background. It's an intergenerational cult. It's probably been going on several hundred years. Its background is English in the UK, England and Scotland. And it was a very stuffy cult. It was, you know, we are doing it the right way. I don't understand you why you are doing it that way.
Hmm.
And it wasn't. It got less and less popular over the years, so it sort of died out, it fizzled out, which was
Right.
good for me. It helped me. The
Yeah.
weakness helped me get away.
Hmm. So my background in this topic is that I joined a cult in my teens as a way to escape or try to escape the abuse at home. Obviously, that was not the right decision to make, but it happened. So, and luckily, I survived, and I'm here. And now, one of my goals is to spread awareness around the subject. So, you are my hero and my inspiration, Jean.
Well, it's nice to have a generation to look up to.
Right?
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that must have been different for you because when you grew up, or maybe when you escaped, there wasn't that information out there as it is now.
No, it was just starting to be out there.
Yeah.
All of us who were remembering were running around frantically saying, "Give me an instruction manual. I don't know what to do." And
Right.
the therapist would get too. What do I do? So
Yeah.
we didn't have role models. We didn't have books to read. The first time, and then a biography came out, we were all so thrilled. It just was. There was so little there. Everything was precious. Now there's a whole lot out there, and you have to sort through what's good, what's bad, what's useful, what's not useful, and that's a different kind of problem. But,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Now it's different. but I feel even in 2012 it was difficult for me to find information. But I mostly searched in Dutch because that's my native language. So, and I later on found out that there was a lot more information available in English, which totally makes sense, obviously. But yeah, so that must have been really difficult. And I'm so grateful that we have all these resources online, because of the effort that the previous generations put in. So
there was a lot going on. When I'll say come out. When I came out as a ritual abuse survivor, there was a lot going on in the Netherlands. There was an organization called Empty Memories, which put on a conference and actually had psychiatrists there, others at the conference, lots and lots of survivors. I went there. I spoke.
awesome. Yeah.
A little information as to what was going on in America.
Yes. That must have been quite the experience.
Oh, it was.
Was that a long time ago?
I can't remember the year. I would say it was probably mid-90s. Maybe a little bit after I started RA Info. Probably more like the late 90s.
Okay. I wanted to ask you if there were some people who gave feedback in the forums that they have understood that the S in SRA can also stand for other things like sadist or spiritual. Do you agree with that, or do you think that all that spiritual abuse is actually satanic abuse? How do you see that? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, that's not a phrase that people who identify in the States as ritual abuse survivors use. But spiritual abuse, yes, absolutely. Not all spiritual abuse is satanic abuse, but all satanic abuse is spiritual abuse.
Right.
All the stuff that priests are doing in the Catholic Church, they take their religion and they twist it to manipulate the children into doing what they want. That is spiritual abuse. Saying God wants you to do this, that is spiritual abuse. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Abuse is much, much larger than satanic abuse. Same thing with sadistic abuse. I think that's probably even larger than spiritual. Any kind of sex with a young child, I think, is sadistic. You can hit that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So we're a subset of a subset. People like me.
Right, yes. We are a small community within the bigger DID community, who is a part of the social spectrum community, who is part of the plural community, right? So it's like we're like a small umbrella under the very big umbrella of pluralness. Yeah. There are also a lot of RA survivors who give us feedback that it's hard for them to feel pride because this was done to them on purpose. The DID was done to them on purpose. Their altars were implemented by others from the outside. So they have trouble feeling pride or experiencing pride around their plurality, especially on like the DID Awareness Day or like a Plural Pride Day that we're organizing. Do you have any insight in that?
I can see that. I can really see that. It takes a lot of work to come to the point of saying the things I did psychologically were to survive. And it was a gift that my mind gave to me in order to protect me and to protect that spark that children are born with, that to live, grow, and love and connect with people. Most of us, that was preserved. It takes, as an adult, it takes work to nurture it and bring it out and grow it up to be something beautiful.
Yeah.
And working on it is real hard, And another reason it's hard is that kids always blame themselves. You have a choice. Either it's your fault and you can try harder and do something different and it'll stop, or you're totally helpless and there's nothing you can do and you might as well give up and die.
Yeah.
So, blame, shame are huge obstacles for us to overcome before we can be proud of our
Yes.
psychological makeup.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure. For me, I feel I have implemented alters, like I think that's the term where a programmer gives you alters, but it was still created through trauma on purpose, but it was still through trauma. So we don't differentiate in our system between alters who came spontaneously from trauma versus alters who came there on purpose through trauma, I guess. But I guess for other people with the ID, for some of them who are RA survivors, they differentiate in that. Do you think there is a difference?
What I think is that alters develop spontaneously in response to trauma, and perpetrators know that, and they take those alters and then they mess with their heads. They train them, they teach them, they make them go in different directions. They torture them, they make them split, and then this alter is trained to do that, and this one's trained to do that. But they're all part of you, and they all came from you. It's not like they can walk down the street, pick up somebody off the street, and do something to them and put an alter in them. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all part of me. The alters that were trained to do things that they wanted are just as much part of me as the ones that, well, I'm another subset at this point because I don't really have traditional alters. I'm so fragmented that I'm too fragmented to have an alter that has a history and a name and a purpose in life. So I'm different in that way. I feel very different within my own community, but the commonalities are far greater than the differences.
And you do know a whole lot about how the ID works, I think, from all your years of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many of my friends are.
Yeah, I only have plural friends at this point in my life.
Yeah.
I realized the other day, I'm like, that's a nice coincidence.
No, I still kept a couple of, what do you call them, monomines? Singletons.
Monomines? I like that one. Singletons, we say these days, but that's also apparently offensive to some people, so.
It was a joke back in the old days. What is a singleton? A singleton is a person with one or fewer personalities. Not nice.
That is a funny joke, though.
No, I have, I belong to a family that I'm still in contact with. They're my in-laws and family I created. And none of them are plural.
Right.
And they're wonderful people, and
Yeah.
they love me. I love them. And I have a best friend I've had for 35 years, and he's as single as they come. So, I have
Nice.
hope. Majority of the people I've known and been close to over the last 7 years have been sexual abuse survivors.
Right, yeah. So you wanted to talk a bit about the myth that memories can be caught like the flu, or can't be caught like the flu.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that myth for a bit?
Yeah, what I wanted to do was to speak to people and say, don't be afraid of each other. That the outside world is afraid of us because they don't know us. And I think that bought into society's fear of us, and I'm just not buying into it. Therapists can tell clients, don't talk to other virtual abuse survivors. Don't read books they wrote. You're going to you're going to think that things happened to you that didn't, and it's just going to get you all upset. It's better to let things come up on their own, and then you'll really be sure they're true. Well, I think that's nonsense, because the majority of people can tell the difference. If you're sitting there and hearing a horrible story and it didn't happen to you, all you're feeling is for the other person. You could be mad that they were treated that way, or sad for them, but it's all out there. And it's not turned toward yourself. Whereas if they start describing something that happened to you too, you sort of go, oh my God, fuck. I didn't. Oh my God, it hits you. It just hits you like a ton of bricks. Or if you've known about it, you say, me too. And you validate for the person. And so I don't worry about catching memories.
Right.
I can try them on for size. That could have happened. What do you think? Didn't it? Nah. But I don't worry about catching them. So I think that rather than being helpful to do this work in isolation, it's really, really harmful for us. Because we feel like we feel so awful. We feel like we're the only one in the world when this first breaks open. Imagine staying in that position, without anyone to talk to, without anyone to say, it sucks. We understand each other. We can finish each other's sentences. We have the same twisted sense of humor, many of us, so we laugh at each other's jokes. To me, it was the first time I felt socially comfortable.
Oh.
From the time I was a little kid, I felt like an alien, some put down on earth, and nobody told me the rules of life. Nobody told me what to do. And so I was just like this poor little alien thing, standing on the outside staring. And all of a sudden, all that self-consciousness and feeling of being no good, less than, disappeared. It was just, when I'm with my people, I'm just relaxed and comfortable, and I don't worry what they think of me, and I don't worry what I think of them. We're just together, we're connected. And that has been such a...
Yes, we met actually in Orlando at the Infinite Mind Healing Together conference in 2019. So that was a great experience. You actually organized the SRA lunch by yourself. So thank you so much for that as well. It was lovely to meet you there and to hear more about your story there. And it was great meeting other survivors indeed, and having lunch with each other, and having that opportunity to talk to other abuse survivors who went through those really deep and extreme difficult things that no one talks about because it's too taboo and too much, and it might just upset other people. But it is our story, and we have the right to put it in the light. And if people don't want to hear it, they have the right to click away from this video or any other video or any, article we write or whatever we do, right? They don't have to watch or listen or read, but we do have the right to tell the story.
We have a right to find each other and be with each other.
Also, yes.
And we're not hurting each other. Every now and then, maybe 1 in 200-300 people will indeed be damaged by other people's stories. And Uh, there are people who sort of like soak up other people's histories, and they would do it anyway. They would do it with, let me put it this way, they've probably been doing it for the majority of their lives before they met any ritual abuse survivors. So it's nothing new. It's nothing that we created in them. It was there to start with, and they just latched onto our stories. You can pretty quickly tell somebody like that. I don't know whether all of them are aware of it or not. I think probably some are, and they exploit it. And others aren't. Others just have no idea.
Yeah. I actually talked a little bit about this subject at the Infant Mind conference in the last session. They talked about people who had factitious disorder. And I asked their panel members if they had considered the thought that someone might be plural, have DID and factitious disorder. As DID so often is comorbid with another disorder anyway, why is it never comorbid with factitious disorder? Right? I think that's very well possible. And so all four of them sat there like, and then one said, oh, maybe even one part could have factitious disorder. Exactly. And the others went like, oh. So I really hope that they talk more about that subject behind their closed doors, because I think it's so important that more awareness is being spread about that, because what we see in our generation in the DID community is that those people are being called fake. They're faking their DID. I don't think they're faking their DID. I think they're very disordered. And it's very difficult to interact with those people. But I also think we have to be careful with just shunning people away if they're not harming others. If they're harming others, it's a different story, obviously. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about in regards to the memory myth? Or did we cover everything on that?
Oh, so much to it. The myth was put out there in order to protect the people who didn't want anyone poking around in their business and discovering this. You know,
right.
They didn't want it to be out in the light. And they did a very good job. They had good public relations. They had good lawyers. They went after therapists. They terrified people. And that's what I call the golden age of being able to hook up with, meet other survivors. And I'm friends with them. That dried up when I live in San Francisco. And when I first came out here, there was a Survivor of Incest Anonymous meeting specifically for ritual abuse survivors almost every day of the week. And now there's nothing. There's nothing. I think there's one telephone meeting in the whole United States. But people just got scared. They went underground, and they're just, I think, beginning to peek out again.
Yeah, we see some new people on YouTube, especially starting to speak out. You know, and I noticed for myself, I'm 31 now. I got diagnosed in 2012. I knew about my ritual abuse before that. But, well, I spoke more about my ritual abuse before I knew I had DID than afterwards. How weird is that? I just realized that. Huh. That is so funny, actually.
They're getting backwards from most people.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Huh.
Most people remember a little bit of molestation, and then a little bit more, and then full-fledged sexual abuse, and then, oh my God, it's my father, you know, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh my God, there's a group of people.
Right?
Yeah. And
yeah, for me, like, I joined in my teens, so I knew nothing from before that. But I knew I joined what would be considered a cult. I didn't really necessarily knew what happened there, but I knew that I should stay away from those people and that they were dangerous. So that's basically all I knew. But it was funny how I was not shying away so much from that as I am doing more now, because also within the DID community, I am afraid to not being taken seriously, right? If I talk about all these extreme RA situations that people might doubt about, then do they take other things I say serious? So it's really been a struggle for us to share about that subject online. Yeah. In videos, actually. In articles, we're doing better.
Yeah. I can't speak to that because, to tell you the truth, I don't have friends with DID who aren't ritual abuse survivors.
Oh.
I mean, how do I meet them?
This makes me want to do a poll in Alternation, my support group for DID survivors, to see how many of them actually consider themselves RA survivors. But there was also a university study about that, wasn't there? You shared that as well.
There was a international study. A German named Thorsten Banker was part of it. It's called the Extreme Abuse Survey, and it's on the internet.
If it's still going when this conference is happening, I will put the link in the description and people can join if they want to. It's for a great cause to see how social media is affecting RA survivors.
Oh yeah,
right?
This guy in Scotland is studying that. Obviously, ritual abuse isn't the only way to develop DID.
No, absolutely.
And at that conference, it was amazing. There were like 300 people, and there were only less than a dozen of us who were identifying as ritual abuse survivors.
Yeah.
There may have been more, but they didn't come out and join us for lunch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually wrote in my feedback that they should do a session on RA, but actually, if it's just like 5, 10, even 20 people, then does it need its own session, or is a lunch actually more practical where you can just interact with each other? Yeah.
The other thing is that, as I said, that usually people remember the easiest things first, and when they live through that, I say, okay, I survived that, and I didn't slit my throat, and then they feel safe enough to remember something worse. And that's when you remember for the most part, when you reach some sort of level of safety. Not in crisis mode, but trying to just stay alive.
Yeah.
So, chances are there were people who had not come to that place yet, who were not safe enough to remember that their rituals. And that's okay.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for if you've just found out that you are an RA survivor? Like when you just start to discover that process.
Okay. You won't believe me, but it gets better.
Yeah. You won't believe me either, but it gets better.
Yeah.
Everyone who's watching, it does.
It's like grief. When you somebody that you are so love so much, and the grief is just so pressing, and it's there every minute of the day. And you sleep with it, and you have breakfast with it, and it's just with you. And it intensifies, and then it sort of takes a break, and it comes back even more intense. And that's what it's like in the beginning when I remember.
Yeah.
I think that people who are more clearly divided in terms of DID may have alters who can give you some relief from that. And may have alters who are designed just to get through the day and do the dishes and, do the homework and can give you some relief. I didn't. But whenever you're in those memories, they're awful. And what happens is that over time, you get little chunks of time when you're not in flashback. And then the chunks of time when you're not in flashback get longer and longer, and the flashbacks get less intense. So, yes, I still get flashbacks. I still burst into tears by somebody I love that has died.
Right.
But it's not unbearable. It's like the wave just, it's always going to be there.
Do you mean like it's desensitized?
No, it's like my world narrowed down to just that. Just figuring out what the fuck was going on. And slowly my world became bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was like, one day I noticed all these RA books all over the house. And I realized that simply one section of my bookcase, they were all mixed in. There were poetry books and cookbooks and RA books all. And it's sort of like, oh yeah, my world opened up enough that I can still read poetry. I can read poetry once again. I'm interested in cooking once again.
That's wonderful. That's so great. Yeah. Wow. That makes so much sense.
And I've seen it happen to people.
Yeah.
So
that's very hopeful as well. Thank you for sharing that.
Your only job is not to kill yourself and to wait, and this will happen on its own. It's a natural process.
Yeah, and I agree with you that you can look inside and find people inside who can help you with that weight, with the pain, with easing it, and with healing through that. We actually, when we found out one by one, I guess. So we didn't spread this as wildfire in our system. Some of us found out, and we kept it a secret from each other. Yeah. And so eventually the word came out, I guess. And so what we did was that we all came together in the inner world, and we hold hands, and we did our own little healing ceremony in the inner world to accept each other and to share healing between each other, which was a really wonderful experience for us. Yeah, that will stay with us forever. I'm very grateful we did that. So, do you have a word for survivors?
Yeah, try and get in touch with each other if you're not. You'll find it's wonderful. I think that the best way to go about that would be to use the internet.
Yeah.
Use these YouTubes, go to websites, read people's blogs. You can comment on blogs. You can really make close friends through reading a blog over time. There are message boards, too.
Yeah. And it's also allowed to talk about RA and SRA in alternation with a trigger warning. If people want to find support there. I agree that the internet is a wonderful place to meet people worldwide. And if English is not your native language, then I really suggest you Google in English, because it will really help you in your search, I think.
Yeah, we have translated the facts on RA info into many different languages.
Oh, okay.
Swedish, Danish, German, Italian.
Wow.
Sorts of languages.
Great. That's amazing. Well done.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, I keep asking for people. There are people from Latvia and Estonia that are reading the blog. Every now and then I ask, would anyone like to do a translation? But there are people from all over the world. And
Right.
a great many of them speak English.
Yeah, for sure. There was a recent study in the Netherlands done about how many cults there are in the Netherlands. And
Oh,
we are a very tiny country, right? But they found 4,000 different cults in the Netherlands alone that were
see,
like,
yes, and
yeah.
yet no, it's offering therapy to people
Mm,
who have been members of.
mm. No, no.
Well,
So they found 4,000 cults that they are for sure they confirm it's cults, but they actually found 7,000. And so they were smart enough to not translate this research by the Dutch government to English, so the rest of the world will never know. But here it is. It's I will link to the Dutch study. It's in Dutch, but it's in there. 4 to 7,000 cults in the Netherlands alone. Tiny, tiny country, and no help. So
they
that
need
was
47,000 therapists, right?
right. Exactly,
Yeah.
at least.
And so then
Yeah.
would have 10 people from the cult as patients, and that's ridiculous.
Right. That was my next
That's
question for you because you were a therapist. So, do you have a word for therapists? Do you have anything to say to therapists who maybe do not want to treat RA survivors and why they should?
why they should,
Yeah.
because we're nice people. No. Um, yeah, I was a clinical social worker, and I actually had some RA survivor clients while I was getting my memories, and that was rough. Anyway, to therapists, we're just people. We may be complicated people, we may be difficult people, maybe we've been through stuff that will appall you, but we have the same emotions as other people, and we don't bite. We're not, and all of the skills you have are still useful. They're not obsolete just because we're multiple. You'll learn new skills. The best therapist I ever had was just beginning to work on incest survivors. I believe I was his first RA survivor. And he was wonderful. He was the best one I ever had. He was intelligent. He was honest. When he made a mistake, he said so. When he didn't know something, he said so. And that's perfect. That gives you a solid base. You can trust him. If he says, I don't know, then when he says, I do know this, you can trust him.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you?
And the other thing he was doing was he was part of a study group and he was learning. So he was open to learning. And that's all you need. If you're a good therapist, that's all you need. And
Yeah.
there are ways to get supervision or be a part of a study group. I'm part of a study group that I helped found to give support and share knowledge among therapists. So there are resources out there, and don't be scared. It will shake you. Some of the things you hear may shake your worldview, but as bad as people can be, as evil as they can be equally as good. So please don't be scared of us. We're not that awful.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we could survive that horror as children, then a grown therapist who studied should be able to deal with those horrors. Maybe not all of them, but if
You
you
don't have,
specialize in trauma, then I think you should.
yeah, you don't have to live through them. You just have to listen to them. And
Yeah,
that's a big
exactly. Yeah.
But I also think that we're rewarding as clients. There are other problems, of course. That most of us are underemployed or on disability.
Yeah.
We're dealing with so much that we don't have the energy to put out there and earn a good living.
Hmm.
So can't have too many on your caseload, or you know,
Yeah, for
or
sure.
urban. Yeah, but you know,
Hmm.
don't be afraid.
Do you have any information on how we can protect ourselves? So how do you avoid ending up in an RA relationship or a cult or anything like that? Like, how do you avoid that?
Um, that's an interesting question, and it's a hard question.
Hmm.
If a person has really strong, appropriate boundaries, you're not going to get into a cult or a dysfunctional
Hmm.
relationship. But we don't, because our boundaries have been trampled on. And so it's a learning process. And in
Right.
the beginning, you may get sucked into another cult, you may get sucked into going back to your own cult.
Yeah.
They match up with a partner that's destructive and maybe still cult active, but you learn. And if you get the idea in mind that you have to like building down things that should have been given you as a child.
Hmm.
No, it's not okay. It's okay. Uh, you have to build it yourself now as an adult. And it takes time. You make mistakes, and you have to learn yourself as you do. You do a
Yeah.
hard job, a very hard job. A page on RA Info. Actually, it's on my blog too. How to recognize destructive groups, and you can like this checklist. Do they do this? Yeah, and you can use that to sort of like guide you. Say,
That's
are
a
there
great resource. Yes, I'll put that link down below in the description as well, because that's a great resource. Thank you so much. Did you create that, Jean?
No. A guy named Isaac Bonewitz, of all things, created it,
Okay.
and it was very good.
Awesome. That's a great resource. Wow. I wish that I had that when I grew up, right?
Yeah, if you'd had it,
Yeah, that would have saved me a lot of pain.
yeah,
Um,
but we wouldn't have met each other.
that's also true. So I thought maybe we can talk for a little bit about trauma bonds. What used to be called Stockholm Syndrome is now called a trauma bond. So I wanted to maybe talk about that subject, and maybe you have some ideas on how you can break away from that.
Well, people have a need to attach to other people.
Mm.
And I think of trauma bonds in children that if a parent is abusing a child, at least it's a connection. They're getting attention. And they form a bond because they're getting. That's the only nurturing they get.
Yeah.
Or if the parent is sometimes nasty and sometimes not nice, they form two bonds. It's like they've got two parents. They've got a nice nurturing parent, and they form a healthy bond, and then they form a trauma bond with the destructive parent.
Yeah.
And it's also a way to protect their own life.
Mm.
A 3-year-old is going to rebel and not form that bond, and just like say, I'm out of here. They're gonna die. But
Mm.
they're not going to get through it. So it's natural. But Stockholm syndrome is more about grown-ups identifying with their captors.
Right.
And I think some people do, some people don't.
Hmm.
Again, I think that's sort of like hypnotized when they hear all the reasons that that group is right and righteous. Has the answer to the problem.
Hmm.
Start to believe it. You can day in and day out, you can start to believe it.
Yeah.
It's brainwashing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure is. Yeah, it's like a programming you have to break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they join through, and you
Mhm.
can kids are getting radicalized in ISIS, for example. That's
Mm.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that if you work through trauma, that that is a way to break that trauma bond?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I don't like words like break or heal or anything. I like words that you learn to live with it in a different way. You don't destroy anything, you transform it.
Right.
Yeah, that you can't change the past and you can't destroy the past.
Hmm.
Take what the past has given you
Yeah.
today and work with it, change it, and transform it into something that is better
Hmm.
for you.
Do you think there is a difference in how abusers abuse SRA or RA wise back then when you were young versus when I was young or when children are young now? Do you think there's a difference in um, what they do, how they do it? Do you think there may be a big difference because of technology, that the media plays a role in it?
Definitely. Um, Child pornography has got like, it's it was harder to spread. It was harder to find in my day. It
Hmm.
was harder to create, because you couldn't do it on your smartphone. You had to get a camera and lighting and a stage set. So it was more cumbersome to make child pornography, more cumbersome to distribute it. And even though some of it was pretty sadistic, I think that the amount of sadism that's available on the internet
Hmm.
so is appalling. And I'm sure it's far greater than what was available in my day.
Yeah.
So the amount of pornography is greater, the distribution channels are greater, technology is greater. There are more ways to trick people than there were. We didn't have holograms in my day. You couldn't do you know, a surround movie. You didn't have color movies. Drug a kid, have them watch a movie, and have them believe that that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't do that really in my day. Had to
Right.
just,
Right.
yeah, it was
And I
just work.
think I think that difference was already between the generation between you and me already grew up with the television
Yeah,
programming and the movies and all that sort of stuff, right? So
yeah, yeah,
wow, yeah. Hmm. So
yeah,
they grew back then when like maybe television started, color television started, and then when the internet came, that was just an extra layer for them to spread their work,
yeah. But it
to call
sort
it
of
that.
exploded with the internet.
Right.
I saw my first television program when I was 12.
Hmm. Wow. That's
So,
amazing to hear for someone like me because I always grew up with television, of course.
you know, I'm lucky because nobody abused me with over email.
Right?
Yeah, nobody abused me with a computer. So I have it's not contaminated for me.
Hmm.
I don't have to like, all right, you know. I'm afraid of post offices. I'm afraid of telephones. I'm not afraid of computers,
Yeah.
and that's why I do a lot of work on the computer.
Yeah. That's so interesting. You are from an remarkable generation,
Yeah,
right? And it's also remarkable that you are able to do this technology wise, everything. That's also great because many don't. So good for you that you are. That you're participating in a worldwide conference right here on the internet,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
I,
history.
This actually is a big step for me because I was used in child pornography.
Mm.
And I don't like to have my picture taken. I don't like video, obviously. But I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And
Thank you so much.
yeah, I basically was interviewed for a podcast. And
Mm.
I did that, lived through it, was not too uncomfortable. And I said, all right, I can do the video. And
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah, for me, I can only videotape when I'm home alone. It's just as soon as someone else is in the house, I can. Even if my neighbors are like walking around or like making a lot of noise, it's well, first of all, it's annoying in the video, but second of all, it makes me unable to record. So I need to be absolutely sure I'm alone.
Yeah.
And I always close my curtains, which is really weird because you need the daylight, right? But I need my curtains closed, and I don't want anyone to be able to see me. And it's a whole weird process for me to film actually. It's also difficult for me.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I have one very more important question about this subject. Do you have any tips in 2019 on how to get out of a cult or out of any RA situation?
I think that leaving is usually a process. It's not an event. It's not like flip a light switch and leave forever. But it's a lot of going back and forth, and you think you've gotten away, and you get sucked back in, and there's callbacks. But you keep trying and trying and trying. You'll get to the point where you can stay away. And I guess it's sort of like quitting smoking, just keep trying. Also, if you do that in the process of it, that they get used to you doing that, and they get used to you coming back. So when you cut for good, they're expecting you to come back, and they're not particularly worried about it. If they think that you're going to make the break, they can step up the heat. They can harass you more, and then you say to yourself, okay, this means I'm doing something right. It's not that you're failing; you're doing something right. You're getting them nervous. Sometimes moving helps because their networks are they're better networked where they live than they are 3,000 miles away, even though you might be able to find somebody to harass you. But what you need to remember is that if you still have alters that are trauma bonded to them, they will probably pick up the phone and tell them where you are. And they'll report back to them. And they're trying to help you, but it's not the best way to help you.
Yeah.
Before you really expect to get away for good, you've got to work with those alters. You've got to find those alters and work with them. Or work before they've shown themselves, because they're probably eavesdropping on everything you say. Educate them, help them, soothe them, thank them for what they've done, and say they're sorry. You're sorry they're not hurt. You're sorry they're lonely. Tell them there's a big world out there that it's a nicer world. And they don't have to call back. They don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah. That compulsion can be really hard to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that is more important than leaving and going to a safe space. Because if that's not the place, no place is safe for you.
Yeah. Do you think therapists should work with people who still respond to callbacks?
Sure.
Yeah. I think the same, but there are some therapists who think they shouldn't, or they set some sort of deal, like if you go back, I stop working with you. I think that's very contradicting and not beneficial at all.
No.
That's my personal opinion, so I wonder if you share that opinion or if you have a different one.
I'll stop working with you. That's an invitation to lie to her.
Mm.
To lie to the therapist, isn't it? No, I mean, it's tempting. It's tempting and for a new therapist, a beginning therapist, to say it'll be easier to work with people who are out. It's going to be really, really difficult to work with somebody who's still being abused, still participating in rituals. I'm not up for it. I can't do it. So I'll only work with people who are out. But there's no guarantee they'll stay out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you don't know if it's true, right? Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Give me a break. Oh.
Yeah, because you only see this therapist once a week, right? For maybe an hour. So who knows what happens in the rest of the week. Actually, I sat at the nail salon once, and this lady comes in and she's like apologizing to the girls who work there for her not wearing makeup. And so she sits down to get her nails done, and she explains that she wanted more medication from her psychiatrist, so she didn't do her makeup. And in hopes of getting a higher dose of her medication. And I thought that was such a bizarre situation that she planned it all out like that.
And he fell for it, or she fell for it?
Yeah, the therapist fell for it.
Current projects, I've got 10 of them sitting there.
Wow, yeah.
Including 2 books, it's just,
Yes. Have you written books before?
I did an anthology, and I've done chapters in other people's books. I haven't done a whole, start to finish book.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that now. It's just too much.
Yeah.
What I want to do is a little booklet that describes satanic holidays, gives the background, the history, and I think that would be useful. I'd love to see that in people's waiting rooms. And I want to do, and then I was asked to do an anthology for people who have lost babies in the cult, either forced abortions or they were forced to give birth so the babies could be used as a sacrifice, or forced adoptions that they were forced to give the babies to somebody else.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's heavy. That's really heavy all around.
That's an intense topic. Wow. And you're writing a book about that right now?
I'm collecting stories for an anthology, and I've brought out almost half of the amount of material I need.
Wow.
I'll also take contributions from significant others, therapists who's worked with people like that. But most of them are going to be from the women that went through this.
Yeah.
Poetry's fine, artwork's fine, essays are fine, ants are fine. It can be as emotional or as intellectual as you want, anything. So, shout out to the universe. The best place to send it, if you're inspired, would be to the Contact Us page on RA Info, and that's RA Home, RAHOME at RAinfo.org.
Yes, so I will put that on the screen, and in the description as well.
Yeah, okay, great.
What is the best thing for you about being plural, and what is your best advice to others who are plural?
I can't answer that because I'm so plural. I'm just as well be one. This is the analogy. Water vapor forms ice crystals and forms a snowflake. Okay? So they're a discrete group of atoms forming a snowflake. Falls on the ground, melts, and the atoms disperse. They're back that snowflake. So There's nothing stable enough to be an Albany.
Yeah.
I think it would be sort of wonderful.
Hmm.
I get jealous.
Yeah, you're jealous?
Yeah, some of my friends who have multiple.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry that it's different for you, and I understand that it must be a lonely place. But I'm glad that you find that community within the RA community, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Our minds may not be exactly the same, but the experience would be the same.
Yes, exactly.
I
Yeah.
guess in the plural community, I'm not very technical. Right?
Mm.
Okay, my website is ra-info, just short for information, .org. And my blog, which is much more personal than the website, is ritual abuse, all one word, .wordpress, all one word, .com. And thank you so much for inviting me to do this. And, a growth opportunity for me, really. I hope that it comes out sounding coherent. It's new for me. It's the first time I've ever done this. And I guess it's my gift to do it. I am really grateful that I have this opportunity.
Yes, we are very grateful to have you here, for you sharing your knowledge and also some part of the history. I think it's great that we recorded that on video for the future generations. Who knows, our great-great-grandchildren might one day watch this back and see the history that we made with this conference online. So thank you so much, Jane, for being part of it. And
Thank you so
yes.
much.